Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, only for new hires? Fine. What would a man know? You need to be better at timekeeping. Okay then, I will. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Only for new hires? Fine. So during high school I worked at a part-time job at a grocery store that sounds similar to Jingles. We had a lot of cashiers quit and desperately needed more cashiers. At the time I was making $10.50 an hour. Our general manager made a promotion where any cashiers hired got paid $11.25 an hour. So I go talk to my manager like, hey, can I get that raise? He said no, it is only for new hires. Well, after about 2 weeks I got fed up being the only one who knew how to run the registers because I was really the only one with experience. I was training employees who were making more than me. I asked again to be on the same level of the people I am training. I realized that the promotion ended in about a month, so I talked with my parents about my plan. I waited until I knew that he was going to struggle because of people already asking off. I went into my shift, and I told my manager I quit. Here is my time card, here is the keys, I helped close once or twice, and here is my vest. He said, whoa, wait, let's talk about this. I said no and walked straight out. I enjoyed the weekend off and hung out with friends more often than I normally did, didn't work at all that week, and on Friday, a week and a day later, I went on the website and applied again. I was called in for an interview with my former manager. He seemed relieved and arrogant that I was coming back, but at the end of the interview I asked, since I am a new hire, I get the new hire bonus pay, right? And also, Janice, the only other lady who I liked, gave me her referral code, so I get that as well, right? I could tell he was very unhappy, but I did end up getting both. I missed 3 days of work but ended up making more from the referral bonus, $250, and got myself a .75 raise. What would a man know? Many moons ago, I worked in a department store. It was a weekend contract gig while I was at university. It had departments for a variety of things, and for no particular reason I ended up in the basement on homewares. No grumbles from me. Money, even if it is minimum wage, is money. Work was easy and my team were awesome. First week there I recall someone saying retail would be great if it wasn't for the customers. I was saddened. What a morose mentality to have for the place you spend most of your waking week. It took me a few years to figure out it was 100% true. The amazing customers absolutely do not outnumber or overshadow the monsters. One thing in retail I didn't realize was how amazingly helpful a good memory is. And believe me, back then especially, I had a phenomenal memory. We had to type into section codes and prices into a printer for barcodes and place them on stock. I very quickly got a reputation. See, most people would remember their specialty codes. They were 15 digits long. That is still good. A few seasoned withered husks with manager name tags would remember a few other specialties codes. I had them memorized for the entire basement, 7 departments, hundreds of codes. They were formulaic per department, so once you remembered each department's formula, you just had the last 4 digits per dissection. After a while of being noted for this, I got moved from cookshop, global knives, Alessi teapots, etc., into home care electricals, vacuums, pressure washers, and irons. You think a good memory is helpful for printing labels? I was like a walking thesaurus on that shit. I didn't gloat, but colleagues would use me often. Quicker to get die-by-flaw than go into the office and check the catalog or Google something. Warranty info, user specs, power ratings, maintenance routines. All of it. And I enjoyed the prestige. I happened to be perfectly positioned to excel in this because of my memory. I would gladly help out people rather than salesperson them if I could. That 900-pound machine? What would you use it for? Yeah, you can get that from this 100-pound machine instead. I didn't get commission and I brought return customers who like me helping them. People liked a passionate teenage man helping them with all of the knowledge I could muster. One woman even wrote me a letter saying she would send flowers but didn't for fear of upsetting my wife if I had one, lol. She was about 7 decades older than me, bless her heart. But I digress. Malicious compliance time. One day a woman came in. This was the aughts, but by today's standards, a Karen. Instant hatred of everything and everyone. My job is to help customers, so her distaste for existence and pleasure for misery really mattered not at all. She is picking up various generator irons on the shelf, inspecting them and looking out of her depth. These things can be used in home, and some of the models we stocked you could use professionally. They started at expensive and went up to crazy money. It was pretty normal I would have to go through all of the specs for customers. If you are going to part with 249 pounds for an iron, you want to know what you are getting for your money. I get it. So I walk over to her to help. Anything I can help you with today, madam? She looks at me like I am a fart that has just gotten into an elevator with her. I want to buy an iron. Way to state the obvious, but the customer is always right, so I smile and go on. What type of iron are you looking for? Are you using it at home or professionally? It is for me to use, I am the woman of the household. Now the way she stressed woman wasn't a gripe at her lot in life. It was more like when someone reminds you this is their turf. Their speciality. Their baby. Hey, no problem by me, I'll see if I can help with that. No problem at all, this model here is normally used commercially and you cannot access the water tank. Since it generates such a lot of pressure, you have to buy these CalStop cartridges to prevent limescale buildup. Otherwise the machine can break and won't be covered by your warranty. The benefit is the dry steam boost function for doing dresses, curtain etc. without soaking them. By comparison, this one has a cartridge water chamber which is easier to manage, however. Yeah, can you get me a woman? Perplexed, I wonder what I said wrong. I needn't wait long to find out. She saw the look on my face and went on. It's just a woman really gets these things, you clearly wouldn't know. I am chanting in my head, customer is always right, and managing my breathing to stay composed. No problem, madam. Allow me to get my colleague Doreen to help you then. Now the department was built around a big pillar, irons on the east face, vacuums on the south and west face, till and accessories on the north face. So I walked around the corner to the till and got Doreen to go help this delightful woman who decided I didn't know what I was talking about. I headed around to the west face to cover vacuums. Not 2 minutes later, I hear Doreen heading towards me saying, honestly, you need my colleague, they are the absolute expert on irons and they know so much more about them than me. They will be able to find you the perfect iron. That woman's face as she realized it was me she was being brought to as the expert on irons was priceless. She fumbled a quick question on a Morphy Richards unit to justify coming back to me and then quickly hit the escalator to get the hell away from the awkward she had generated. You need to be better at timekeeping. Okay then, I will. I saw a post earlier on that reminded me of this story from a job I had a few years back and one of the worst bosses I've ever worked for. It goes like this. This one day in particular, I arrived at work the same time as my team leader's boss. I walk across the car park and in through the doors to our office, nearly seconds after him. He doesn't say anything to me from across the car park, even though he saw me, he doesn't even acknowledge me at all. The time was 0703 and I was supposed to start at 0700, just like him. Later that day, my team leader gets an email from this guy telling him to give me a bullocking for being late. My team leader, who also happens to be a good buddy of mine outside of work, didn't give me a bollocking, but instead replied and told his boss that I regularly work an hour or so later after work and don't claim any overtime for it. At the time I was young and didn't have any commitments waiting for me back home, and I was the type of guy who would want to finish a job off before leaving. My team leader's boss told him that he didn't care, that my working day started at 0700 and he expected me at my desk at that time every day. He said he was sick of my relaxed attitude towards timekeeping. My buddy showed me the email back and forth between them, which he wasn't supposed to do, and just shrugged and said something like, "At least now you know, I don't give a shit, as far as I'm concerned you do more than your stated hours, but he's clearly gunning for you. Just watch your back." So I decided I'd take the boss's words to heart, and from that day until I left, for a much better job, I arrived at work at 0650 each morning, got myself a morning brew, and sat at my desk not doing anything until 0700, when I would start work. Even when I got to the office early, I'd sit in the car park until it was time. And I left exactly bang on my finishing time of 15:30. Every single day. The boss didn't notice, of course, until a few months later a big job dropped just before home time, as they often did, and they needed someone to stay on. There was the usual rushing round and hushed discussions from the management about it, and then the boss came over and asked me if I would mind staying on to do the job. I was usually the guy for the job in these circumstances. Most everybody else had young families they needed to be home for. Now, I could have stayed on and earned myself some sweet overtime. I had nowhere I needed to be or anything I particularly wanted to do. But at the time he was asking me, it was only a few minutes to home time. I told the boss that I wouldn't be staying on to do the job. He asked why, and I pointed to the clock and said, "Because it's home time." With that I shut down my computer, put my coat on and went to leave. He asked me if I had something to go to, if I had plans for the evening or something, and I just replied blankly nope, and then politely said goodbye over my shoulder as I left. He was absolutely fuming, of course, but he had no power to compel me to stay, and he knew it. I found out in the days that followed that he blew his top and had asked my team leader to gather my timekeeping logs over the past couple of months, since he'd ordered him to bollock me for being 3 minutes late. He wanted to haul me over the coals for something. When he realized I was keeping exactly the hours I was contracted to keep, he pulled me into his office and asked me why I wasn't being as committed to my role as I used to be, staying back late to get stuff done. I just smiled and very politely explained that staying late after home time for no pay is something that is done out of goodwill. And that he had eroded all of that goodwill when he had my team leader give me a bollocking for being 3 minutes late, on a day when I got to work the exact same time as him. And I explained that from that point onwards my goodwill was gone and I was only going to do what my employment contract asked of me and nothing more. He was so red in the face I could tell he just wanted to lose his sh*t at me, but he had no legs to stand on. My timekeeping had been impeccable and the work I was doing while at work was to a good standard. He had nothing. All he could say was that he was very disappointed that I felt that way. I just shrugged and asked if there was anything else. There wasn't, so I got up and left his office. I kept my nose clean for little over a year after that incident, but he was always trying to get me for some reason or another. In the end, I found a very nice job elsewhere. And I heard that after I left, just about the entire department followed suit. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.